Sāshī mbēshī jōjī mēntō ndamā rē rā līnshī yīndē jambāndē sāngjī shīndū mīgdē bīyō Drogī namdā shīndā yō barā yīnshū yī damā gurū rāt nā mēntrā lā guñī yāntā yāmi 다 세치메기 난신도 야들라야 아니야바도 때즈지게 세치메기 시도 점베 아란줄야 세dim 치마디 요나 메나세게 로도 숙치 효래데 남시기 균디 아니 치마를 두고 요래 요마르 세게 다 삼로디 숙침부 요래 제장가 아란줄게 남시들 통메타 요래 요마레 타메타 요래 요마레 아니 아란줄게 남시디 미장장 개발링그르베 미멤버 샴발리 개발네 요래 요마르스타 디 로도 망보 오지 예베 토네 아니 지금 셈그나 로려야 지금 삼 아주 치매기 안에 나와디 샤투요 말이야 다 쳐바질리나 체디기 나신 상만 도야기 삼로들 레츠비 슈라 아니 치말라양 아니 얘기 다지기 겨워 상보지다 하바도 미유 아랑게 미유디 두야디 요모 도숨 매버스야 하바도 등지 매버스야지 인도 점베 얘기 겨워 치마는 내급소양 아니 지기 겨웠대 지기 가서 그래 아니 하당 아니 지기 개보당 뽐부선으로 지 겨월에는 두서 돌아당는 지금마송 아야디 겨워 치마디양 아니 등지 매버스야 쳐도 이 겨워 링기 삼성 주류 점베 신에 아니 다 가서 그래 겨워 치미게 아니 나신 도야기다 삼로디 쳐바질마도 삼로 내라고 걸서 말아봐.
דיברנו במפגש של הבוקר על הדרך שבה אנחנו מסלקים את הריקוד, את ההאחזות שיש לנו בחיים האלה, גם דיברנו על הסילוק של ההאחזות, ההתנגדות של...
Here we've been talking about primarily about getting rid of the sort of attachment and preoccupations with the things of this life, but then also then looking towards the ways in which we're able to reduce and eventually eliminate our attachment and clinging and our preoccupation with the things of future lives. And of course the future lives are something that's very difficult for us to see, because when we bring up the topic of future lives, then we're also sort of course the different kinds of thoughts and will come to us about whether there are past and future lives or not. And primarily these thoughts will come down to based in sort of the idea of consciousness, the continuity of consciousness, and then also looking at the ideas of whether consciousness has a beginning or not, and whether consciousness has an end or not. And so that's the sort of, whether we will take, but primarily also whether we will take a future, particularly in terms of taking future births. So there are many sort of thoughts that come up for us when we discuss this subject of future lives. And so it's very difficult, but it's very difficult to be conclusive and for us to see those things very clearly. Whereas for a practitioner who is a strong practitioner who is already counteracted the attachment, preoccupations to the things of this life, they will then look to the future lives, but they have a very specific aim. That their aim is as a practitioner, the aim that they wish to accomplish is that of being able to destroy the self-grasping. And so they will see taking a future rebirth as a king or as a minister or one of the gods as being a waste of time for them, because it's not an opportunity which allows them to be able to fulfill their principal aim and goal, which is that of being able to eliminate self-grasping and to continue the process of eliminating their self-grasping. So therefore, they will always be seeking to take birth in a future life for that purpose. So for them, this situation has a much more clarity.
Samin Gyurtsadwe. Okay. Oh, that didn't do some be Chesanga Tamre, huh? Kansuchiki. Nyamne de Chebikablia, to those Tanya de Chigi Sechimalia, those never Sumatuna. Yang Korang Shingi said de la Katsu Chigi Tabata Tamji Chimbe Kovan Rubial Shuro Yabde de Kablaya. Kyawa Chimalaya Shiragi Shuk the Medu Zambe, and Garojin Shuk Jayati, Nuba Chunro Droyachida, Yan Paranja said Digi, now Bashilia Droyagi, Yanga Chimbuji Chadigua. The Indu Zambeta, Yang Samis, Tanda Yang Sam said Dinaro, Jerumchi, Yang Sambe, and it Digi, Chimenashan Dogo, Sijatadico, Gandela, Yila Combe, said. kum시자고래 세지 아니 겨와 치마들래 띠때서 양내 양도 삼로 당고래 세 디는 같이 부르셔.
And this also connects very clearly with the last line of verse 4, where it talks about in order to overcome the preoccupations of the next with the next life, by repeatedly contemplating the truth of karma and samsaric suffering. So this is very important, extremely important to contemplate this again and again, because of course we do some kind of practice, but it's that. And the way of sort of almost like focusing that practice, if we're not able, since it's very difficult for us to become very clear about past and future lives, and then also, and so if we're then sort of more focused, even in our practice, we're more focused on this life, then hang on, can people hear? Yeah. Even if we're focused on this life, then we tend to get more sort of drawn into focus, even if that is for practice, not just in terms of attachment. And therefore, then of course, very difficult to focus on liberation and full enlightenment, that kind of thing. And there's a real danger that we'll focus more of our time on this life, or focus more of our danger on this life, and less. I'll finish it there.
That the Indu Jetanga Dormichegi, the Kasuri, the Kongi Mizigi Nalone, Ane that Chikarsuri, Aranzulia, that me Chizolia, Ane Pembe, Cha Mangbuji Zayebe Narone, Keto Papa Chigdi, that Siri Nyamdo, Ane Nangchu, Samadang, the Siri Nyamdo. 송제 난치디 로망부른가 달로 서 십주시랑지 군둥기 리나요레 디당 체리다 난슈 송도 제기 미유로도 소로디 다치 체리발레 캡상 침부라요 된 아주 낭발레야 캡상 침부시우지 다 캡상디 가르레 세두셈베 다 점불링디 나로려야 셈다 다 숙선의 이유로 숙니 로스 요르요 말에 시제 삼로 당행이 나로네 다 요나면나디 세리부직 차기요래 아니 셈들 가서를 로스 주비 아니 숙당 수로 로스 주비 셈시제디 낭비기 흉내 송구요래 다 진리기 디 매복 알레 콩게 두고도 도면도 데 망보지기 로 망보지는 따지 쳔이 송데 로 십주나로라 딜랜데 단다 잡투요 말에 잡 모토 마세 안 당동야 리서치든지 제백갑이야 아참 참들이 마인드 앤 라이프기 냠도 참참 이게 자리야 고고라고 그래 어디갑래 군중기 세리버절로 간디 양양도 나야 찍디 저장가 다 지가서 그래 남시에스니디 간디스 지난 중은 진치기 바스 디 양양도 간디는 그래 아디 데지나비가라 참레 군안족이 저장가 란조 빼나 빼직 제베나 자지 군중 건조를 간디난지 아니 저장 파다 많이기 파기 딜레다 마게 공안이리 꽤메베 토네 아니 군이기 자와도 참 자롱도 점배 녀버도 부구제비차 부구차비 녀바 여러베스 이제 간디난도가 간디난도 건조기 녀바 여 말했어 녀바 메비 좀생 가르레스라도 점배 다 세버스 케메도 점배 군중이 간조를 시지 안조다 디 그룹도 좀 들이 남배냐 렘바도 저래 정화다기 실라마도 제장가 산제 준비된디기 텐데 양라 중이기 나로네 아니 긴 숨바 넘버 셔바세 숨야디 오 따데 내가 될 투송아스 따데 신에 안절로 고급 첨부지라고 열다스 콘저 렌 야마토바디 안절 렌레스 어딘데가 갈롭나서 제장가 드조디야 섬당서 시침부리
And so here, and if we look at through all of the deeds of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in his lifetime, and the tremendous, incredible amount of things that he's done for the people of the world and the society, on the sort of more general level, he's one of his great deeds has been that of bringing together the scientific community and the Buddhist community, and particularly in sort of discussion and mutual sharing. And this process has been going on through the sort of Mind and Life organization and many other ways for more than 40 years now. And His Holiness has made great effort and applied great emphasis on that. And this main aim of bringing these two, the scientific community and the Buddhist community together in harmony, the main aim has been to sort of is to provide benefits and understanding for both the Buddhists and the scientific world about the nature of this world. Particularly one of the main topics that comes up is in terms of mind and body, and whether mind and body are sort of separate things, or they're completely separate or connected, or are they separate or not. And of course, there are also the scientific community have different explanations of the relationship between mind and body, and also this is the case also in the Buddhist texts where they describe the relationship between mind and body. But even over these 40 plus years, where there's been a tremendous amount of research done, it's still hard to get a clear answer and to this question. I've also had the opportunity to occasionally join some of these Mind and Life meetings, and I remember one time His Holiness would often question, explain Buddhist things to the scientific community, but also ask them questions. And one of the questions that he often asks is, how do you scientists identify consciousness? And particularly, he points to this idea of consciousness being a third kind of condition, because he says to them, if you from their experience, if you have two parents, the sperm and egg of a parent and two parents, a father and a mother, and you have a sperm and egg, and neither of those are faulty, if they come together, will a child necessarily be born? And the scientific community replies, no, that's not. There's no definitive case where that will happen. So then His Holiness will sometimes sort of jokingly turn his hands to the side of the room that contain all the lamas, the gurus, the geshis, the Buddhists, and say, well, that's it. But so therefore there must be a third condition, right? And then he turns to the Buddhist side of the room and says, well, we have got an explanation for this third condition because it's mentioned in the Buddhist text that within the 12 links of dependent origination, the sort of process of samsaric birth, that in the 12 links, there is this presentation of consciousness as being a third condition for the the arisal of a new life, of birth. So we've got some explanation to as to the situation with it. So it's Holiness kind of sort of slightly joking with the community, but asking this very important question.
אז לפחות מהצד הבודהיסטי יש איזו זווית מסוימת שאפשר להתבונן בה ולומר, לדבר על תנאים נוספים שתומכים בהפעלה.
제가 디 책을 말했다. 당동양 그래서 집어 있는 슈를 된다.
לא שישאיר גם בזמן בסוף דרך אגב.
Yeah, people will take questions later. Somebody was asking a question, but they'll say that they'll have a session to take questions later.
그래서 지시 제외로세. 지시 제외로세. 어제지 저상가 디니 파마니기 파마니가를 끼면
Just clarifying this situation.
좀생 가르스나 좀 된디기 넘버 10 슈요 말이스. 디순고 봐. 저상가 순번 넘버 10을 슈나 아니 보고 차 말았어.
So just to clarify that situation about the third condition, in the sense that what was being said is that His Holiness was asking this question to the scientists: if you have the sperm of a mother and the sperm of a father, sorry, and the egg of a mother, and they have no fault, and they come together, will a child necessarily be born? Will a new child be born? And the scientists say no. So the way that the Buddhists are answering that is to say that if consciousness also doesn't enter that combination of the sperm, come into the act as a third condition in that situation for the sperm and egg and the consciousness to enter, then the child, a new life, will not be born. So that's what it means by a third condition. Yeah. So that's what this is referring to. So His Holiness is saying that the Buddhists have an answer to this because they're saying that you need consciousness, which the scientific community is, of course, not so clear about.
디 지금 말에 답변한 거란 저기 단다 리서치 친 삼로 스tam비나 아니 다 변화자왕만 텐디니 대화 말아서 이스라엘 나리 거래 아 되네요 저기 가서 최여다매 들 보고 나 자왕만 테마는 최여매다 최여매 개박게 개면도 봐 아 보고 준주도서 격주는 그 시식 말아 봐 아니 디고 지게 겨왕가 맞춘 같이 세고 싶어 되냐던데도 봐 제장가 늦어도 삼로 당만 베이나 콘솔 겨왕가 맞지 여발라 콘솔 겨왕가 매바 가르레스 아다 주릭 tum버레스 주부릭 tum버 주릭 tum버라 삼로 당원도 잠베 주부 임바 찍벌라 주 로가 컨디션 그래서 어떤 저기 알아서 상부당체 또 스텝이나 직계와 두수균 튜니마 용야데 요 말을 슬람네 자원이 랍하고 싶지 딱고 상로마당 되는 다가라레마도 매버 년은 요 말을 슬람나 디 콩기하고 싶지 차대 싫어.
And so, of course, this topic takes a certain amount of research and thinking about it, because there are people who very clearly remember past lives, their own past lives, and there are people even in Israel who claim to remember their past lives. Now, of course, that doesn't, and they're not all necessarily Dharma people. But what we have to do is to look. We'll have to sort of look very carefully into what is sort of there are often children who remember these past lives, and there's no real reason for those young children often to be making up stories, and some of them remember them with a tremendous amount of clarity. So one thing to think about for us is to think about if they're talking about clearly remembering past lives, why would we not have past lives? And then we have to think about whether we have past lives or not. And we have to think about this in terms of causes and conditions. So, for instance, this continuity, particularly of consciousness, coming from a kind of concordant types of conditions, things which are in accord with the results. So thinking about the way in which particular types of cause will produce particular types of results, and that things which are not in accord, the cause and not being in accord with the result will not produce that result. And so it's not possible just to refute this idea by simply saying, oh, there's no way that is possible. It's not possible for there to be past and future lives and a continuity of consciousness. You can't just refute it by just saying, oh, that's not the case. We need much more careful examination, especially as there are these cases of people who remember their lives, past lives very clearly. So then we have to think, what would be the reasons why I wouldn't have a past life, looking at it from that perspective?
So, because Jewish people are very intelligent, so maybe you do a full research whether there is a past life and future life is there or not. So, for outcome, if you can prove there is no past life and future life, I will be the most happiest person. you make my life much easier. So all this preparation, those practices. So one great master, Dharmakirti, when I debate with the non-Buddhist school, saying, don't give me a reason saying that I don't believe, I haven't seen it. It's not a valid reason to prove there's no past life and future life. So I really wanted a valid reason. So this is quite a strong statement. Dhammakirti. Yeah. 다 디데 인도 잠배 최상가 양양섬의 치매낭시엔 도스 저디네 비베진 디랍션데만. So also I will share you one story. The Dhamma friends of Israel teacher, one of our teacher, Gengyazullah. Gengyazullah is my teacher. So Gengyazullah and we have a very close friend who is a great practitioner. Long time he was meditating, and time to time he offers His Holiness some kind of a discussion, Dharma discussion to His Holiness. So that teacher, the meditator, when he got sick, he got some different types of cancer, and then he was admitted into hospital in Chandigarh in India, and then Genjazula went to see him in these difficult times. So, because both are now practitioners, so the meeting should be always great. So then when they talk to each other, Genjazula asked him a question, do you feel fear? So then he said, no fear of the death. But the greatest kind of a worry and a little fear is there, to be honest, because I really don't have a certainty that what kind of next rebirth will be. That's more scary. That was his response. It is sometimes more fearful than if you think what is coming next. Right now, our relief is we are not thinking about it. That is our gift to ourselves. Shut the door. But the practitioner, they had to open it, and then they see this kind of a fear. So that's what the Lama Tsongkhapa is mentioning here. More you are convinced in the law of causality, because this cause, this result, this karma, this result, and then you will feel like, I wanted to be reborn in the samsara again. So then, the one great master, he said, what is the root of suffering? He said what? He said, rebirth. Very clever response. Because you are born, suffering comes with it. That's it. Free, complementary.
למעבר לזה, rinpoche גם רוצה לחלוק איתנו סיפור נוסף.
So Rinpoche was just relating this to that third and fourth line of verse 4, where it says, by contemplating repeatedly the truth of karma and samsaric suffering, preoccupations with the next life will come to a cease. So that's what Rinpoche has just spoken about, is in connection with those last two lines of verse 4.
מה שאנחנו מקבלים קומפלימנטרי, או על הבית, אפשר לומר בעברית, זה סדר.
죄송하다. 깨와 당아 끼니 거라 죽음에도 세선로지. 깨와 리니 거라 죽음에도 세선로지. 요시다. 삼로디 디질레나 인중 축충부질레 온도 잠베 당아 깨와 거라 리니 죽음에도 세선로지.
So there are some that say if they've got a very strong practice of renunciation, then they say that although that rebirth itself may be what would be still certain, even with a strong sense of renunciation, but they will not be mistaken in terms of where they will be born.
But sometimes when life is not going as your wish, then we really don't want to live. Right? So this is why many people commit suicide. Then, as here, the liberation is within the control of yourself. That I'm saying, I will go into deep meditation that may I never be reborn into the samsara again. And I wanted to liberate it. That's my peace. So, Anju Tanda Shiva said, peace ki dishe dirba. Shema do zing Anju Tanda Jigi Anju Tanda Shidi said, Tanda di Korndegi Shidi said, those Kfar yorba.
Here, when we talk about peace, we have to be very specific, give a very explicit explanation of this, because it's not talking about just the general kind of peace and happiness that we talk about in life, but we're talking about peace here in terms of samsara and nirvana, and going beyond samsara and that kind of peace. That's the very specific kind of peace we're talking about here.
Je Tsongkhapa Tanda Tingmen Shuju Zimbata, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Pejenta, Thailand, Burma, the number Tingmen Shuju Zimba, Nalola, Jawa, the Tarpa Tops of Shula, Jawa Land said, Gadget Halam Yomaris.
You find in these the countries which are connected with the Pali tradition, the Theravada or Pali tradition of Buddhism, such as in countries such as Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, those kind of places, that there's not so much discussion of taking birth or sort of existing after the attainment of liberation or nirvana. So they don't discuss that idea of somehow being reborn. I
was thinking, it makes me uncomfortable. The liberation, then also without any kind of a clinging, grasping, without under the sway of the negative emotion, still enjoying the life. That I really wanted to see. But then this does not exist in the one sect of Buddhist teaching. So then I was thinking, sometimes my mother would say, because my mother always gets so much migraine and headache, so she will take lots of pills, and then she will always tell me, this headache, every time I have it, I feel like there's no head. If there's no head, then no headache. So she will always say that. So it reminds me same thing. Whenever we say rebirth, so it's more like the suffering comes with it. So no more rebirth, no more suffering. That's period. So then maybe now you are wondering, some Buddhist school, like a Tibetan Buddhism, in the Mahayana school. So then there's a reincarnation, and there is a past and future life of this Lama, Rinpoche, like even he saw as the Dalai Lama, the 14th, the great 14th. So in the Bodhisattvas, Mahayana schools, so then it talks about the reincarnation, even you got liberated. So then, in order to benefit other sentient beings, then the continuum of the consciousness, it talks about it. But you have to keep that in mind. But the different other sects of the Dharma brothers, they don't talk about it. So you need to keep this in your mind.
הנקודה הזאת לפעמים היא נקודה שהיא לא כך נוחה, מאחר ש...
So what Rinpoche was saying before, just to is repeat that is that there's no in those sort of other traditions of Pali tradition, etc., Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, etc. They don't talk about after liberation any form of kind of rebirth, whereas in the sort of Mahayana tradition, there's this talk of even after attaining liberation and removing our mental afflictions of being able to be reborn for the purpose of, but for the sole purpose of helping others. So it's not contaminated rebirth. So that's just to explain that's how what Rinpoche was referring to in previously.
הדעות באופן כללי לבודהיזם הוא כזה שלא כל האסכולות אומרות את אותם דברים.
저도 다 제생가 대대로 곰베 코비 핀조라스 다 대대로 곰베 시디 세디기 낭신 도야기 치도 미다바 고미야 치매 낭신기 도야기 쳐도 양내 양도 아니 레준지 남샤라 아니 렌제미루바 아니 삼로 양내 양도 땅야 디기 아니 곰시들이 잡이 게임기 있었다. 진짜 콤보고 왕기 코르베 내갑라야 다 핀조 간지질라 코에 핀조 간지질라 롱제베 갑라 디테스 카스터 당시 코에 핀조를 튜니 라고 챙기면서 깨지면 붙이 코에 핀조를 롱제베 갑라 이면 디리지 마게 붙이 제장가 코에 핀조라 이면 디리지 마게 롱제베 갑라스네 도즈 야요 신 코에 핀조를 라고 챙기면서 슬랍도 좀 seminal로야 람상코라 아니 최최스도야 람상 창마 유진 로고에 섬로주코 아니 가르치도 최 지금에도 야 세브시다 매비체 아니 유당 아니 고 람경 오당 고림다도 저게 더디 큐면에 람상코라 인중계송 슬랍제 아니 따지기 됐어 가르쳐 그래요 교차비 균석으로 왜 잘라치비 균기 야 가르쳐래 최최를 만들어 있는 것 유두점에 제정가 코위 편조라 롱제베 갑라 이면 딘디직마제베 토네 아니 삼로질레 레토바지 중화당 아니 인생분도 아니 삼로 나로야 타르바지 톰나 삼지 신이 가와들이 지게 타르발로 파타 아니로나 세 삼로딘디 질레베 갑들라 아니 인중제베 체디긴 시제름부지 까남르다
And so the next, moving on to verse 5, where at the verse 5, the very beginning of the verse, where it says, "As you habituate in this way," the first line of the English. So habituate in this way it refers very clearly back to what we've been talking about earlier, of particularly meditating on death and impermanence as a way of counteracting our attachment and clinging to the appearances of this life, and then also as it says in the last line of verse 4, contemplating repeatedly the truth of karma and samsaric suffering. So particularly remembering the law of karmic cause and effect, the undeceiving law of karmic cause and effect, which helps us to counteract the attachment and appearances of future lives. And with those thoughts, so as habituated to those thoughts in that context, then it says, it goes on to say, when not even an instant of admiration arises for the propensities of cyclic existence, so let's say samsaric pleasures or samsaric propensities, then at that point, it says, when the thought aspiring for liberation arises day and night, at that point, renunciation has arisen. I want to just make a very clear point here about this is not saying at the point where you won't touch anything to do with samsara, the pleasures or propensities of samsara any longer. It's not about not engaging with things. It's about engaging with things in the correct way. Because otherwise, what will happen is if we sort of people will get the idea that the Dharma just involves stopping everything that could be connected with samsara, throwing it all away, and then sort of giving up everything. but then this kind of person often doesn't actually know what to do from there. So they think, I've got to sort of give up on everything that seems sort of samsaric or pleasurable. They don't have the context of understanding what the stages of the paths are, or what the sort of different natures of the paths and how to train in those paths are. And they think that enunciation has arisen in themselves because they attempting to just give everything up. And that's also connected usually with an unrealistic rush to engage. And what these people are actually doing is taking the Dharma and turning it into something which is not the Dharma. So it has to be this balanced way of where aspiring day and night for liberation, and that's the point that true renunciation has arisen.
Okay. The mindset is very funny because because few days ago I was playing a game with my one of my brothers in France, football. So there is most of people you don't know. There is every day there is a reward, and then it's like a free chance that you can press it and you get a one good player. It's your luck. So normally I get good players. So a few days ago he got a better one. So I was not happy. I was like so disturbed. And then he sends the picture, the screenshot of his the player to me. He says so good. So the full day I was like mood off. So I try to meditate. I try to think. It's not happening. It's not easy. So then it's not the game, it's not the player, it's not the card, it's actually your own ego. How it is, so it's tricky. The whole, it really pulls out discomfort is from there. Because he got it, that's happiness. If I didn't get it, unhappy. So I try to change and try to practice. It's a bit hard, but good thing I can connect. This is my individual problem. So I cannot rejoice that he got a good player, but but I still feel strongly which way to blame towards. So it really cools me down a bit. So the mind game is very interesting. So as Lama Tsongkhapa here mentioned at the end, yimun kichik tsamya pyunzo la yimun kichik tsamya mijishin seti. Koyo pyunzo la teni yimun sidu tsambe dili teni ni diji se samlo de tsawanya ni shagmes. Diji dila dus. Di chungna kibu. Di machungna dungese di kiji shigmes. Yimun kigmes seti. Ta dene nga chambusho chadi ni rushtuwa. Shanganzu ta kowe negapso kibu chungma chung sinye di chi tunjenji da samlo tangne kibu chungma chung mado nangi samlo tangcho jigi to ne ani kibu da dubu se di geje di shiye di kombulo jirwa.
So just to clarify that last bit also that Memshim was mentioning before in terms of these lines where it says, as you habituate in this way, and when not even an instant of admiration arises for the propensities of cyclic existence. So I want to stress this statement here about an instant of admiration. So this is not, as I mentioned, giving up completely on all forms of samsaric pleasure, but it's this sense in which we are the attached, being attached or having too strong an admiration, almost too, in a sense, too strong a clinging or admiration for them, and then engaging with the things of the world, the things of samsaric existence, in that with that kind of mental framework. So, as I was mentioning here, it's the in the story that I mentioned just now, in terms of the game, it's this way in which we sort of choose something as fixate on something as giving us our happiness, and then we are destined to, if we can't get that thing that we want, it will create unhappiness for us. And if we can get it, then we feel a sense of joy and happiness. And so this is sort of very samsaric way of operating, where we are just primarily sort of seeking out or predicating our happiness on sort of just sort of temporary or external conditions. But actually, it's very rare for people to really look inside of themselves to seek to understand that the causes of happiness and the causes of unhappiness lie inside of us, not out in these sort of external or sort of temporary conditions external to us. And so that's what's being talked about, is when it says not even an instant of admiration arises for the propensities of samsara. It's getting away from that kind of clinging or strong feeling or admiration for the things of samsara.
הוא יכל לחבר בין מה שהוא ראה בתהליך המדיטציה שלו למה שגורם לתודעה שהיא לא שמחה או לא שקטה. אז המשחקי התודעה האלה הם די מעניינים. פה ג'ה צונגחפה אומר, באמצעות התוודעות זו, כאשר לא תעלה אף לא לרגע השקיקה לנפלאות מעגלי הקיום. השקיקה לנפלאות מעגלי הקיום היא כזאת שגורמת לנו לראות במשהו כאושר, כרווחה אישית, ולהאמין שאם יהיה לי את זה, אני אהיה מאושר, ואם לא יהיה לי את זה, אני לא אהיה מאושר. זאת השקיקה
Sorry, so yeah, so then what Je Rinpoche is saying is that when none of that that kind of admiration arises, then at that point the thought aspiring for liberation arises day and night, and that's the point when true renunciation has arisen. That's the meaning of true renunciation.
מעטים הם האנשים, נדירים האנשים שמתבוננים פנימה ומנסים לטפח את העושר לא כדבר שנמצא בחוץ, אלא משהו שנובע מבפנים.
So when we start saying mine, the problem started. For a long time, I give this example. If I go to like a phone store, so then the specific phone what you really want is there. So you will say, I would like to purchase this phone. So then the person will bring this phone, and then he will start putting your email address and everything installed, and then you make the purchase. Right at the moment when you purchased it, then you feel like my phone. Before giving it to your hand, if he drops, who will feel more pain is not the seller, you. Right? Even though the phone, they will give you maybe the new one for sure, but you will feel like, that's for sure. That's so strong, mind. Similarly, like my family, they are good reasons for, in general speaking now, okay? Then all this, if you look at through this, where you cling so much is whenever there is more kind of a grasping, then more problem has started already. This is the base. So here, to get a liberation, to get liberated, so it is more like saying, I wanted to let go of this grasping. So this is the kind of the warm-up. Not liberated yet, wanted to get a liberation, the renunciation. So then after this, the one kind of to be highlighted in this text, which is my favorite, saying when the day and night, that when you have this motivation to get liberation, then it is the sign that you got the renunciation. That's the Lama Tsongkhapa's statement. But many of us, sometimes when you get discussed through so many problems, if it is a family issue, and like when you see some sufferings of the world in the world, and then you really think like, no, now I wanted to get a liberation. So at that time, what we really need to check up in our mind, do I have the proper renunciation or not? Then bring this piece of advice by Lama Tsongkhapa. Do you feel joy when you think of a liberation? I don't think so. Because your focus is on, I feel disgust, I had enough of enough. This is more like, it's slightly a little bit hatred. I don't like the bad pizza. I'm not going to that restaurant again. It's not saying like I'm not going to eat the pizza anymore. It's more like you had a bad experience of this particular place and I'm not going. So similarly, what do you, to check again and again, when you have the liberation or not, you really don't need to go and check with the teachers. But here is the guideline by Lama Tsongkhapa, saying day and night, when you really wanted to get out, then this is the sign. So how do you bring that kind of a set of motivation to liberation day and night? This is a big question, very big question. Because there's one story. How many people know about Milarepa? Raise your hand. Okay, there are few. So the Milarepa is one great yogi in Tibet who had the great renunciation and bodhicitta, and then his way of living life is a beggar, completely beggar. And his way of practice is, for us, for him it is not. For us, if you look at it, extreme. Tibet goes minus 30, 40, 50 minus, but he only has like a thin shawl to cover. And then he stays in the cave. And he enjoys that. So that's why he enjoys that a lot for a great reason, purpose. He knows very well. And then it's not extreme from his side. But for us, if we try it, that's too much. So there in the Tibet, one person listened to the tales of Milarepa, and then he had a strong feeling towards Milarepa's style. And tears came out, and then he has a strong motivation to become like him. So he set the journey, he sell everything, not sell everything, give everything. He does not need the money anymore. So he has given everything. And then he stayed in the cave, meditate. Then slowly, slowly, he missed his old home, friends, and then all the things that normally he's so used to it. Then after a few months later, he comes out and starts saying this so-called Milarepa ruined my life. So what did he really got is the joy that Milarepa is enjoying in the cave, solitarily meditating, how much he enjoys his practice. That he didn't check actually. He tried to follow the steps, but he missed the biggest chunk of the practice of Milarepa. So similarly here, Lama Tsongkhapa is helping you how to bring the renunciation that without any extreme, you need to have a proper mindset that day and night when you meditate, even place like Israel, very comfortable life, but you don't have so much grasping towards the things around you, but still you wish to get a liberation day and night. That is the proper sign. Even you are in the like most expensive car, what's that? Rolls Royce. Yeah, so you drive into this, but still you don't have a clinging towards that, but your mind is proper set to the liberation. You have you have the renunciation for sure, no debate. So that's what Lama Tsongkhapa has given this teaching here. 제번도 타봤더니는 중나텐서 이중계가 나왔어.
כאשר המחשבות עולות ראשנו, זה שלי, זה שייך לי, כאן ההצהרות שלנו מתחילות. לדוגמה, הכי יקרה, רולס רויס, לדוגמה, לנסוע ברולס רויס, אבל בלי הצמדות, בלי דבקות בדבר הזה. אין לנו, אם נדע לכם שאין לנו דבקות בדברים שכאלה, כמו שג'ה צונקאפה אומר, כאשר לא תעלה אפילו לרגע שחיקה לנפלאות מעגלת יומבה, כאשר יומם בלילה תחתור המודעות אל השחרור, בזה הזמן תכונה הנחישות להיחלץ.
그래서 당 이중 취해sab에 쇼들라 오늘 제비나 아니 이중세디 코웨 동에 타달래 아니 네버 중앙 델레 따지기 겔바 델레 잘버 되베기 삼로디도 점베 다 딘디디 어느 코발레 타바체디 조다 코와세디 치료 조조고요 말에 난기 아니 다당 더기워세 니나네 타치체 다다 나다 ngayiwase ni ta cheche ani ngayiwa dil teni kyemang boji chawyong du zambe di takbo jamni gi zode ta ngase di du zambe ngase gi ani samlo tela teni mangbo jige ne jige samlo dang chubo tela teni le sa le di wongi ani khordang samlo dile hong du zambe shine ninjung 가자 ninjung ki chogor di song tsabe shugula lamsang kho랑 운에 지나 동번이 기땀데 땡고 년저 요래데 아니 저런 부치기 디슈들 람상 디마 마송 부치지 니중 계체비 쇼는 전주 심 송샤브레스
So here, as we follow the flow of Je Rinpoche's text, then here he's been talking about the first of the sort of three roots, or the three main aspects of principal aspects of the path, the renunciation, and there he's sort of talking about this way in which if we first of all we develop that mind of renunciation, and but in order to sort of actually achieve the state of definite, sometimes it's translated as definite release from the samsaric world, a definite emergence, emerging out of the samsaric world. Then, but in order to achieve that process of definitively getting ourselves out of the samsaric worlds in such a condition that then we are free, completely free of all forms of samsaric suffering, then we have to we need another element to that, not just the mind of renunciation. The mind of renunciation points us towards that, but we need not just to be not just to be thinking of samsara as an external thing, but as an internal process. So then this points us inside to the two reference points of I and mine. And then we start to understand how many of our complications, faults, and sufferings that arise in our lives come from a kind of strong identification with mine, and then that reference point itself is connected with the sense of I. So the sense of mine appears in relation to a feeling of something being mine appears in relation to the feeling of I, the strong sense of I, and therefore looking to understand that in order to get rid of all of this unwanted samsaric suffering and to be liberated from it, to achieve the goal of the renunciation, then we have to understand the true nature of the self, and understanding that the self doesn't exist in an intrinsic way. I'll finish it next time.
Still? Oh, okay.
So I'll just finish it very quickly. So
디 르버드지 용고에 디 저랑도 삼로지 땅 라바도 양 가시기 다 단단 인중 거데 도스 디 잡으래 전주 셈스니데 양 가시기니 삼조 사바 인지래 제가 전주 셈스도 잠베 미고 아니 셈진 담젤이야 미치 아니 드졸이야 산제주 고만치 들토나 지마로 아니 드졸 tarbe cheji tento na chimurung nyambe ki samlo dire ta dindri chi koran samlo tangto na tiki jire o dindri chi ki samlo di ani tongpa ni dang tinjung de zo ma tenpe nguyen le ya ani ninjung sung tsawe shukola to shikado sungo ya di ya chamjor samlo di kari na se che samlo tang dewe na dili ya samlo tang ya mang buji yore di kirang zo samlo tang ya kukab chi di dire ta suspense 인지게 뭐 suspense 다들 에피소드 니버디 마용 거라 지금 이거 어디나 시작 이거
Yeah, so I'll just finish that last bit. So then what Je Rinpoche does in Lama Tsongkhapa does in his text here is that instead of mentioning this understanding of the lack of intrinsic existence of itself, which connects us with meditation on emptiness and understanding the lack of intrinsic nature of the self, immediately after discussing renunciation in this text, he then leads into the next topic of bodhicitta, the second of the three principal aspects. And perhaps that what's going on here, there's a lot of discussion as to why Lama Tsongkhapa goes from renunciation, because the understanding of the lack of intrinsic nature of the self is required in order for us to attain liberation. So there's a lot of discussion as to why he goes straight into bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, and doesn't discuss the nature of the self. But maybe that also here it's a sort of introducing those who are not so familiar with what bodhicitta means, to understand that that the mind of enlightenment, so sort of introducing to those who have not understood very clearly what bodhicitta is, that the mind of enlightenment is that kind of mind which focuses on every single sentient being, and wishes to be able to give them the complete state of Buddhahood, so that wouldn't it be amazing or wonderful if we were able to attain that form of liberation, that complete enlightenment? And so therefore he talks about bodhicitta before the emptiness.
Okay. So now I think we have 30 minutes. We will discuss a little bit about what I mentioned this morning and what I just said. I will welcome if people don't agree with me, so you raise your hand. Even you agree with me, give me a good reason why you support me. Okay.
So what Rinpoche was also saying just there at the end is, so it's like a kind of suspense. Why is it? It's like in a series when you're watching a TV series, and the first episode, and then there's a kind of suspense going into the second episode of so here is also a kind of suspense where we'll leave it there as to why he would talk about bodhicitta straight after renunciation, and not talk about emptiness. So this will be for another episode.
Yep. Yeah. You need to translate that. Maybe in a Hebrew, then in
Okay, so the question is, I'm repeating it for the people at home, but also for Rinpoche. So Rinpoche said that in relation to reincarnation, had you known that, or was there a proof that there are no past lives nor future lives? It would have made your life way easier. You would be happy. All of your commitments and practices that you do might be oriented towards those past or future lifetimes.
Yes.
So that being the case, even if there are no past or previous or future lifetimes, if we practice the Dharma as such, can't it make this lifetime better? Like, can't we say that I'm practicing Dharma so that this life becomes better, easier, happier?
Only for this life, because yeah. So this kind of discussion is not only we discuss only, because this discussion was made also within His Holiness asked one great practitioner from Mongolia, a great scholar. So then he asked, His Holiness respectfully asked this teacher. So he gave lots of reasons why there is past and future lives. And then His Holiness said, now tell me, you're not quoting from the great masters, but your genuine feeling that will your life make easier to understand if there is past life or future life, yes or no. So you just tell me a straight answer. So then this great master folded his hand and to his shoulders and said, if there's no future life, I will be relieved. I will be relieved. So that's really true. Because this, if only this life thing, so then there is a great non-Buddhist school. It's called Tsongkhapa. Tsongkhapa is it? Chabaka. This school says there's no past and future life. Enjoy as much as you can. Normally we say that, isn't it? This is our, actually we have this attitude. So then, then life will be crazy for sure. But then, but anyway, this is, then many of us do that. I don't care if I die, but I really wanted to climb the Mount Everest. Then if I die with happiness by doing something. So we are doing this sort of thing for sure. So the more danger is, the precaution is, if there is a next life, then it is yours. It's not his or hers, it's yours. So it becomes personal. Like if you have to take care of this life's reputation, then also next life, it is a part of you. You need to take care of that. So then it becomes, we say, ethical contact is the number one key to bring the precious human life back. So that's how we are taught, and this makes total sense. So from my honesty, if there's no next life, my practice will be more simple, instant, and we don't need to meet like this. We will have a barbecue just outside there.
But I think I'm pretty sure what she's asking is, like, for example, can't you practice dharma, like, for example, practice patience and generosity?
Oh, sure,
and
yes.
things, it will make this life and
So, yes, of course. Then to have a meaningful life in this life only, also all these things has to come up, for sure. That I totally agree. But the more practice that we are talking about for long run, so then we need to pack up so many things. So that kind of practice I'm saying. So only in this life, to have a good harmony, to have a self-confidence, all this practice is needed, for sure. Yeah. But I will be more free if there's no next.
זאת לא רק שאלה שאנחנו שואלים, אלא גם השאלה הזאת עלתה אצל אחרים, לדוגמה, בדיון שכבוד הדלאי למה ערך עם or that you can study different things and through that come to a conclusion that therefore future lifetimes exist.
Yeah.
So there are those two approaches.
These two approach exists. So for like in the Tibetan community, in the Himalayan community, in the Eastern, wherever the Buddha Dharma is there, the belief system is quite strong that they're like saying, don't kill a small bug. So then in future, that bug will kill you back. This negative action we should prevent. Even the small kids have this kind of imprint. But to be honest, because deep inside, if you really don't tackle with the doubt that whether there is past and future life or not. Okay, I really wanted to do this. I don't care about what happens, but this looks like I really need the shortcut. So then, for this, as a practitioner, it really harms your whatever you are trying to be honest. You have taken a refuge. I feel like I really wanted to get out from the suffering. So then, having this thought, and then if you don't have the certainty, decisive faith towards like, if I did this, this will definitely happen, for sure. If you don't have this certainty, and then there is always there will be hole, there will be leakage. So then our practice will be never full. So that's the problem. So there were so many great teachers, a person like me. But then we say something, we do different things. Because we got education, we got to do this, but decisive faith is not there. That's the huge problem in the society. So, in the Bodhisattva's advice, there it says how to doing oversheet karsikre.
How the 4 ways of gathering disciples.
The 4 ways of gathering disciples. That's in the Bodhisattva's advice. It says Buddha gives these 4 gathering methods. He said, first, you need to. How do you translate that?
You need to speak pleasantly.
Pleasantly. Yeah, so it's pleasant, like it's not like sound nice. It's more like whatever you are, the meaning that you are going to deliver, that person has to get some idea and then feel drawn towards that. Oh, the first one I forgot. First one is saying generosity. That's it. So the generosity is the first key to bring the disciples. The second one is what we just discussed. Whatever you are going to give to that person in a pleasant way, that person will understand that. Then the third one is the how do you translate that?
To act in a way.
Now if you say you have to practice like this.
To explain the meaning?
Not explain the, it's more like if you say like you need to practice like a compassion. Okay, if you say you need to practice compassion, that you give all the reasons and everything, and then the student will do it. And then the fourth one is whatever you have taught or guided, you need to do the same thing.
Acting meaningfully.
Yeah, acted meaningfully. Then
Being consistent with the meaning.
oh, this the fourth one is most difficult. So that's why. So how much I say that past life, present, the future life, and so. But if I don't do my own thing in my daily practices. So then this will not be, forget about benefiting others, it will not bring any benefit to yourself. So it's dry. A seed that will never grow. So that's why. So not to happen this, in order to activate this kind of seed, then you need to have a decisive faith without any investigation, analytical meditation, checking with your teachers, listening and critical thinking with the community. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. That's why all these Nalanda great masters, why they have written the great textbooks, is for us actually. Because when they were practicing, they were struggling. And then this struggling is the same that we will struggle. So that's why they have given us this kind of guideline. So that's needed. So that's why, so we really need to have not only just a blind faith it, but very decisive approach and belief.
So just to clarify what the Rinpoche was talking about, he's talking about the four means of gathering sort of disciples or students, or four means of magnetizing or gathering students, and has a specific context within the path of the bodhisattvas to attract those to be disciplined and lead them towards the Dharma. So it's for positive purposes. So it's first of all practicing generosity towards them, then kind or pleasant speech, so saying things in a sort of conducive and attractive manner, having beneficial conduct, so displaying beneficial conduct, meaningful conduct, and then having consistency between the things the words that we do and our say, and the words that we say and the things that we do. So that consistency between action and the way we talk about them, talk about things. So those are the four means of gathering disciples. So this is for the sort of particularly for the bodhisattva path, in ways of attracting and engaging with those to be tamed, the students.
מלאה כל החיים שלהם להגיע למצב הזה, כי הם יודעים שזה הדבר הכי טוב שיכול לקרות להם. בלי קשר לאמונה בחיים הבאים.
Okay, so the next question is still in relation to the existence of future lifetimes. And so it seems that the whole question about the existence of future lifetimes surrounds the idea that if future lifetimes do exist, and there's a sense of fear that arises in one's mind if we are born in a miserable state of existence, in a suffering state of existence in a future lifetime. So it seems that the underlying motivation is involved with fear. Whereas this lady says that, but what about, for example, finding motivation not in fear, but in things that actually have a kind of good feeling towards them, like, for example, knowing that there is a sense of peace and love and tranquility that you can get when you practice it. There's a sense of fullness that you can get to, kind of in which you're in a complete sense of peace and well-being if you put it into practice, so that you're yearning for love and you're learning for peace and for that sense of fullness. And so you know that if you're going to practice, this is what you will get. So the underlying motivation is not involved with fear of what will happen to you in future lifetime, but is motivated through knowing that there is a greater degree of happiness and well-being that you can get if you put it into practice. So is fear of future lifetime necessarily the underlying motivation for practice?
Fear 벽에 날들랍샤고.
Dila ngaso di kewa chima di yo make schedule wala chesan kewa chima yo na ani kewa chima da di nge susun da di kewa level di da jingnan chi li ro
jingnan li ro
chesan di jingnan di susun nyamnen gi kulon chegir wala chesan di jingnan di kulon di mahimba cha di pasha ta di kesinyamen chewa ina ani soso di mise di la tsewa tan jambala sopa kengi ani dewa nyongire ani senti di yaga chagire ani kuyambo chagire jadi inchi mechi jignande ne kogirbe siyaman chade
Je Tsongkhapa nyinjung kebal re ani pena ngaranzu ki kyamdo chebe kabla re jikpa se chik shegwa re jikpa se di sapsap chi se chire ma do ani jikpa di digi chedo karsa ura ngamra ge chen desi yo mares pena ngaranzu kadu yine 지기 파존 저베가라 삽삽체라 세직 먼저 먹고요 봐. 내나 신기 제제 조딩어란 저게다 최제베가라 뽑아 딩즈 이지 세디 레버지 소고도 준비니 제장가 아주 마손에 디 개와 슈말이야 참참 전주선배 몰람도 줘요래 개와 컨디지는 네스 전주선배 몰람도 주시듯 높침부요래 부정말 개wad는 게 옛날에 심진 컨디지를 개wad는 게 있네 아니 비겔이야 지금 팬도 지금 연나 저거도스 대지기 가서 그래 팬도 매드니기 매지기 개wad는 받들래 팬도 여드니기 자치우지를 개wad는 다가랑 저거도스 몰람도 저도가 어디 내신 제배나 미지다 된다는 거지 용토야라 아니 배수 용도 잠배 차단가 아니 개와 shum마들 렘베 개와지 렘베 갑려야 얘기 편도 자친구 요소지래 개와 렘버 쇼 시제 고롱데 리지기 토네 시주 shum베이나 딜백 자친구 지고 그랬어 저장야 태숨 질레제 다 개와 shum마 간디지 개와 랭기로 지지 태숨도 셰베이나야 데이즈 지기 로마데르 지기나 디 파르지지요 다 개와 야고 내야라 개와 야고시네 벌빼나 춘네 오늘 전에 지기 냐바통 아니 배 지기 마음발이야 디지기 개와 야고지 모두네 제네 편도 자친부 요소지다 아니 밀리야 오늘 전에 편도 자친부 용토바지 채토바 줄지 시지 꾸는 다가랑 토네 개와 망부 디고 사베네 섬로 딘디지 레온소나 디코랑기 슈디기 편도 자치중 그런 로아리스 모두 숨고요 어디네 신시제다 말아서 냠len도 세션의 디기스르다.
So we have to. So the question is regarding sort of having fear at the time of, in terms of, the idea of how developing some sort of fear in the sense of, in terms of thinking about particularly future lives and where we're going, that kind of thing. But and in the Buddhist teachings that when we discuss renunciation, the wish to from the samsaric condition, and when we talk about taking refuge in the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, there is some mention of a fear, but that fear is being mentioned in particularly in sort of in the way of sort of telling us, advising us to be careful. It's not trying to get us to make us kind of terrified. It creates a kind of state of terror about where we're going. It's more like when somebody says to you, you're traveling on a journey, and they say to you, "Take care on the way." It's that advice is being spoken to us. Take care of the situation. Take care of what you do. Your actions, and it's the main way of sort of encouraging us in things like renunciation, refuge, and mentioning the dangers is in terms of giving us confidence and courage, and helping to sort of support us in that way. It's not to kind of petrify us into worrying about where we're going. And actually, if we look at the Bodhisattva practices of the great bodhisattvas, the prayers of the bodhisattvas, of the beings wishing to attain enlightenment for others, then they have a very strong sort of prayers where they, when thinking about their future life, they have prayers that that they would take whatever kind of birth, and whatever place of birth and whatever kind of birth they would take, if it would be of benefit to others. So, for instance, they would have no problem taking birth as a tiny insect if the birth of that tiny insect were to be beneficial to others. So they have this sense of almost like a prayer or a sense of may I be born wherever it will be beneficial, if it is beneficial as to where I'm born and the birth I take, may that be, and is beneficial, then that will be fine. And that will lead to a meaningful life. So so that wish to attain, to take up births in future lives, which are have meaning and are beneficial to others. So that's the sort of prayers of the bodhisattvas. But we shouldn't ever, we shouldn't be sort of terrified into thinking, have sort of strong doubts, and then become very unhappy and extremely worried about where we're going and how we would take good, whether we will take good rebirth or not. But it should be thinking of the tremendous benefit that we can provide for others from our birth.
Who really wanted to practice Dharma has to have this. We have so-called divine pride that I can do it. It's not like, does that exist? Can I do it? Should I believe it? Lost. That is not considered as a good practice. The good practice is something like, I'm definitely going to do it. See the motivation of Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva, who is newly born today, he has the attitude, good attitude. Personality is, today, the newborn Bodhisattva, me, I wanted to help the person on the 10th bhumi to get fully enlightened. It's not saying I'm greater than that person on the bhumi. It is saying the obstacle that Bodhisattva is stuck on, antidote, I kind of feel like I can do it. It's not like, oh, on the 10th bhumi, it's such a great, on the obstacle, this I cannot deal with. I cannot deal with my own things. How can I? Not like this. Bodhisattva has this huge, expand the bodhicitta, sort of like he's suffering, even he is almost the Buddha himself. I can do it. Why not? So this is the attitude. So we need this. So one great Lama who was giving some kind of teaching on a poa, and then a student approached to him, said, please give me the transmission of the poa. And then Lama seriously asked him a question, said, do you love to die? And then he said, no, I hate to die. And he says, now the poa is not for you. So that was like, you need to have a great confidence. Right? So there's no fear of dying for the practitioners. It's like changing the guest house with not looking at all the review. Your own decision. This is it. Not checking on the reviews. Okay. So okay, we stop here today. Okay, and.
So this is the last piece I missed at the end there. So that what she said was that we shouldn't sort of have a sort of paralyzing fear or doubts about where we might be reborn, or having a strong sense of unhappiness about that, because that just acts as a kind of like a kind of paralysis about it, or a fear, because that just acts as an obstacle and to taking a good rebirth. But we should, if we have that real sense of may I be born wherever there will be the most, the most benefit, the most tremendous benefit, then the power of that thought, even if we've done many, many bad actions in the past, the power of that thought will be able to sort of clear away all of those negative actions by having that sort of beneficial thought for others, that wherever I may be born may be benefit for them. So it's not about it's fear, it's about a kind of positive and confident state of mind. And so we will stop here today and do the prayers, and we'll stop here today. So now will be dedicatory prayers at the end of the teachings. So I'll read them from may the precious bodhicitta that is not born arisen, and may that has arisen not deteriorate but arise, be strengthened and strengthen. Sorry, I couldn't follow the prayers because I can't read the Hebrew. It's a long life prayer for His Holiness. So that's in the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chinrizi Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. So this is the verse which is to do with the bodhicitta, and it says that may the precious bodhicitta, which has not arisen, arise, and that which has arisen not deteriorate, but go from strength to strength. We'll recite it 3 times. May the precious bodhicitta that has not arisen arise. May that which has arisen not decline, but go again from strength to strength. May the precious bodhicitta that has not arisen arise. May that which has arisen not decline, but go from strength to strength.